Welcome to the NPS channel, students. Welcome to the part 1 of Writing in the City Life. Today in this chapter, I am going to start about the Mesopotamian civilization and development matter. So you can see it from here. City life began in Mesopotamia, the land between the Euphrates and the Tigris River. These two are the main rivers of the civilization, and the Mesopotamian civilization known for the mathematics and the astronomy. Mesopotamian writing systems and the literature spread into the eastern Mediterranean and Turkey and Syria near about 2000 time, and on the another and to the Pharaoh of Egypt, language script of Mesopotamia writing we have definitely seen. So in the beginning record of the history and the mainly of the urbanized and south was called the Sumer of Akkad, and the Babylon as an important city of Babylonia used for the southern region. I'm going to show you from the PPT. This is the Babylonia, Sumer, Babylon area. Tigris and Euphrates rivers are there. Few kingdoms like Nineveh, Assyria, Uruk, City Ur, Mari, that particular places are also there. That is the fertile land from the Tigris and Euphrates river side. So Assyrians established of their kingdom in north, and the region became known as Assyria. The first known language of the Sumerian language from the Assyria, the first known also the Akkadian around 2400 BCE. Akkadian speakers arrived and the language flourished in the Akkadian speaker Alexander time, 3362 to 323 BCE. So archaeology of Mesopotamia began to the 1840, the time period of 1840s at the one of the two sites, city Uruk as well as city Mari. City Uruk and city Mari been flourished, and Mesopotamia was important Europeans because of the reference of the Old Testaments of Bible. In the first part, there are book of Genesis of the Old Testament's Bible for the instance of meaning of Sumer, which is summer, brick built cities are there. So now what is the next thing about from the Mesopotamia? Its geographical conditions. Mesopotamia and its geography. We can definitely see it from this side, the Mesopotamian whole map already in there. Babylonia, city Uruk, or Mari, that is the three prominent places from this area. Iraq is a land of the diverse of the northeast, the green undulating plains, gradually rising trees covered with the mountains, and the agricultural began the 7000 to 6000 BCE. In the north of there stretches upland and steppe, whereas the winter rains sheep, goats, feeds, and the low shrubs of the hair. So routes are very clear because rivers are there, and they support the cities because of the river Euphrates and Tigris, and trading systems done by that. So as per that, we have definitely noticed that after Euphrates has entered to the desert, it flows into the small channels, and channels of the banks of the past function irrigation canals or the irrigation procedure or agriculture get started. So as per that, of all ancient systems of that Roman Empire included, it was agricultural of southern Mesopotamia. Means people used to believe that from the southern Mesopotamia the early Roman Empirism started. Now is the significance of the urbanism. The city people, particularly from that area, the seas bases also the self-sufficient, dependent on the continuous interaction among them. For instance, the carver of a stone seal requires bronze tools himself and cannot make and stone seals. Colored stone seals does not know where to get the specializations and fine craving. So as per that, bronze tools makers and copper tool things they get from the another area. As per that, supply of charcoal and fuel they needed, and the divisions of labor also marked as per that we have seen. Now the famous excavations from the Mesopotamian civilization is Warka Head. I'm going to show you from here how it's look actually like in museum. This woman head is sculpted with the marble of Uruk 3000 BCE, the eyes of the and eyebrows would probably have taken lapis lazuli and blue shell and white, and also the bitumen black inlays respectively. There is a groove along of the top of the head and perhaps for and the ornaments. This is the world famous piece of sculpture from the Mesopotamian civilization, and the modeling of a woman mouth, chin, cheek. It was a mold of the hard stones and would have been imported from the distance. So can you imagine from that particular very early period, particularly the chin sculpting things are really meticulous on that period. So next is the movements of goods into cities. So what basically portions they moved from that area, particularly cartwheels are there for the boats, also for the metals, and so that can surmise, and the ancient Mesopotamians could have traded into the abundant textiles and agricultural produce from the wood, copper, silver, gold, shell, and various stones of the Turkey, Iran, across the Gulf of this for regular exchange, possible only when there was a social organization to foreign expeditions and direct exchange of initiated of the people and southern Mesopotamia. We have definitely noticed. So as per that, next we talk about the development of writing, how their writing gets started. When the trading systems done, they feel few written and also kind of inscripted records they needed. So the first Mesopotamian tablets around 32,000 BC, and with about a 5,000 list of oxen, fish, bread loaves, and the goods were brought into the distributed from the temples of Pharaoh and city. Clearly, writing began when the society needed to keep records, transaction, because of the transactions occurred many different times and involved the many people, variety of goods. So as per that, we have definitely seen clay tablets been found. Through the excavation, Mesopotamians wrote on a clay tablets, a scribed with wet clay and a pattern to the size and comfortably in one hand. So how it's used, carefully smoothened surface with a sharp, and the format of the writing is the cuneiform. So the reed cut of the oblique and would press the wedge shape cuneiform and sign of the smoothened wide in the most, and once dried it's kind of indestructible. So when the written records say the delivery pieces of the metal dried sign be pressed on the tablet, that each transaction is the minor and require the separate written tablet. This is why the tablets occur by the 100 Mesopotamian sites. So as per that, we have definitely seen by 26,000 BCE the letters of became the cuneiform language, was the Sumerian, known as the Sumerian language. That particular language is getting known by the Sumerian language, and narrating by the many kings do's and don'ts, and as well that some patron announcing things and changes of the king. It made the customary laws to the Sumerian, and earliest known language of Mesopotamia is gradually, we have seen, replaced by the Akkadian in 2000 years ago. So now the systems of writing, how they write on that particular area. We have seen they use many different kinds of syllables. The science of the Mesopotamia of the scribe, particularly to learn into the hundreds of had and able to handle a wet tablet to get written before, so the writing skill craft, but the more important enormous and intellectual event also. As per the literacy, they writing a very rhythmic way, like verses, poems are there for particularly patrons related and dynasty related, and somehow we have definitely see scenic beauty related many things inscripted. So use of writing, particularly the king and Merekar. How can Merekar look like basically? He is a king and Merekar. And Merekar is associated with the organization of the first trade of Sumer. In early days, the epic trade is known, and he was obsessed with the lapis lazuli. So he sent his messenger to the other side of the world called Arata for finding the lapis lazuli, and on that particular time, because they are using the verbal languages or sign forms, so as per that king of Arata, they didn't recognize anything what particularly the Merekar messenger said on that particular day. So as per that, he felt that we need some written record when he crossed the Susa city. Now we are discussing here about the urbanization and the southern Mesopotamian temples and kings. These are the temples. Uruk city. Uruk was a very famous city from this area from the 5000 BCE. From the 5000 BC, settlements had begun to development of the Mesopotamian. Earlier cities emerged to the sometime settlements. This various kinds of gradually developed around the temples. So you can definitely see from this area, temples already 1,500 workers. At the 10 hours they are working. They worship the god, and the god was the focus worship point from that area. The gods of the Mesopotamia. So how they worshipped him? For her, the people brought grains, curd, fish, and the flour. Some early temples, thick layer of the fish bones, and the god was also theoretical owner of the agricultural fields. Basically, two gods they used to feel. The moon god is Ur, and this is the moon god is Ur, and the goddess of love and war is Inyana. She was worshipped why particularly in that way, and Mesopotamian people used to feel that particularly household employment thing and merchants, traders, and any kind of armor they have to keep particularly inside of the storage room of the temples. So as per that, they also provided few amount of tax which led by the workers as well as those who are the worker of the temple area. They provide their needy things, and temples on that particular time provided some ration and compensation things to the people. Now what about the city's development as well as the pattern of the city? We have definitely seen there was a format they're making houses. So when there was a continuous warfare region, the chiefs who had been the successful and we basically have notified that obliged form of the distribution or loot. So the prisoners defeated the group and employees and guarded and servants. So as per that, they made particularly types of fortified rooms and fortified area in order to control particularly their area from the trespassers. So we have definitely seen particularly their notions and how their home things are formed. As per the Harappan civilization, they already have the drainage systems, they already have a major population, and city Uruk also is have a defensive wall and verify clarity date. The sites about the occupied for 400 to 1000 BCE. So particularly in that way, we can definitely see as per the tax basis, ration basis, people from that 1,500 men, those who are working 10 hours a day and 5 years to build the temples as well as the cities also. They made path, they made also sidewalk area, they also made some chambers and courtyard, as well as they are made very different types of things. And also for the drainage systems, they are not that much developed from the Harappan civilization. So what they have done, in a low gradient area, they particularly flow their channels from their home litter area around. Now next thing we are discussing about the city of Ur. The city Ur, basically the earliest cities from excavated from that area. But before than that, we need to know about the seals from the artifact. How in India early stone seals were stamped, and Mesopotamians until the end of the first millennium, and the cylindrical seals. We can definitely see from this side the cylindrical seals are there. So seal pierced and down to the craftsmen, and sometimes also carry writing. So as per that, name of the owner, god, official positions, a seal could be the roll of a clay covering and straddling knot of the cloth and packaging mouth of a pot, keeping of the contents of safe. When rolled on a letter written on a clay tablet, it marked it became a mark of authenticity. So the seal was a mark of a city dweller role in a public life. So life in the city basically depends about the life in the Ur city. So let us look about the how Ur city look like. In Ur, basically one of the earliest cities been excavated in 1930s, and narrow widening streets are there. Like just like from the Harappan civilization, few things are there. Like it could not have the reached many houses, sacks, grains. Also the firewood have arrived, and donkey back narrow widening streets and irregular shapes of the house plots also are there. So as per that, drainage systems, there was no street drain kinds of a contemporary Mohenjo-daro or the Harappan civilization have. Drains of the clay pipes where instead of found the inner courtyard or houses, it is throughout the house roofs and slopes inward, and the rainwater was also are there. So as per that, they are somehow superstitious about the main window door and as well as the main wooden door. Yet the people seem to have swept all the household refuse to the streets, been trodden underfoot. This made the street levels rise. So they are making their threshold high. Light came to the rooms of the from window, and from the doorward and courtyards are there, and will have also the given family members. There are also some belief about the wealth and threshold they raised, that the front door did not open towards the house was a lucky, but if the main wooden door particularly is open outward instead of inward, the wife would be tormented by the husband or tortured by the husband. That is the superstitious things they used to follow. Now next particular thing, the pastoral zone or the nomadic zone from this area. What are the pastoral zone or which area? I'm going to show you from the map side. That is the fertile crescent shaped area. Basically in after 2000 years, the royal capital of Mari particularly flourished, and we have noticed from this map that highly productive agriculture, because the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are there. So herders need exchange young animals, cheese, leather, and return of grain, metal tools, and the manure and pen flocks also great use of the farmer. Yet at the same time, there are many conflict. At a shepherd may take his flock water across. So somehow definitely we have noticed in the time periods of grazing and the cattle headers, some trespassers already been going in another dynasty's area that happened to the Mesopotamian civilization. As per that, they have to pay some taxes to regain, or they have to pay the mortgage their cattle. So through the Mesopotamian history, nomadic communities of the western desert, belted and the prosperous agriculture heartland, shepherds built their flocks and the sown area, harvest laborers hired soldiers, and occasionally from that. So as per that, we have definitely seen in the period of Mari, or in the city Mari, particularly those who are king from that area, in order to making their army strong, if they feel that particularly if any nomadic herders from that area have a skillful person, they particularly offer that particular person to stay with them, and they will give all total facilities to each and everything. Now next, I'm going to show you about how city Mari particularly look like. This is the map of the palace of King Zimrilim, who been appointed the great king of particularly the Mari. The great palace of Mari was residence of the royal family members. This is the palace blueprint. So administrations of the palace, production especially of the precious metal ornaments, and it was a famous of the time that the minor king came from the Syria. At that time also he attract, as per that particular types of modeling and blueprint, or the making his particular temple like palace so grateful. That's why people are attracting to visit Zimrilim palace. So the daily list of the revealed that the huge quantities of foods were presented each day for the king table, for flour, bread, meat, fish, fruit, beer and wine, and he probably ate at the all company of many others in or around courtyard 106 and paved. Also we can definitely see inner court is 106, outer courtyard is 131, and audience hall is 132 specifically. So as per that, the room with the wall paintings and that would have odd and the visitors with the palace and sprawling structure of 260 rooms available from that area, which make the King Zimmerling palaces so beautiful and so fruitful. Now next we are discussing about here the excavation Mesopotamian towns. Like right now what we are discussing that day, particularly we got each and everything from basically the Mesopotamian civilization. How? But apart from this, King have Mari, some vigilant things are there. The king of Mari particularly, however, had to be vigilant, and headers of the various tribes were allowed to move the kingdom, but they were watched. The camps headers are mentioned frequently in letters between the king's officials. In one letter, an officer's writing, the king has been seeing frequent fire signals at the time of the camp, another and suspected by the raid of the plan. So as per that, from the Euphrates area in night time also some dockyards area we have definitely noticed the trading things done. How it's done from this area, we have to look around. Like from this place, like look here on the Euphrates in the prime positions of the trade, and in the various area wood, copper, tin, oil, that is the main product from the Mari, particularly from the Mari it's going wise, and the various other goods carried boat alongside the Euphrates between the south and the mineral rich uplands of Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and carried the good examples of urban centers and the prospering on the trade. So the boats of carrying grinding stones, wood, wine, oil jars, and would stop at the Mari, and there were the southern cities, and officers of this town also would go abroad, inspect of the cargo ships and goods before of the allowing boat and continuous downstream barley, and came special grains, and the most important tablets refer that the Aslacia or the horse from the island of the Cyprus is known from the copper belt, which is the most industrial zone or area, and the material for the weapons. This trade was greatly important, and although the kingdom was Mari, not militarily strong, but is expectationally prosperous because of King Zimmerling's prospect, as well as he taken 1/10 of ongoing time of head of the particularly trading system wise. Okay, so next session I'm going to start from here, excavation Mesopotamian towns. Till now, take care, see you soon. Thank you.